I thought they were gone for good. My birth parents, who had left me behind like a forgotten toy, suddenly reappeared not to reconcile, but to fight me over something I never asked for. And just when I thought I had nothing left to lose, everything changed. My name is Milona, and for as long as I can remember, my adoptive parents were all I knew. They gave me everything: love, stability, a family I could rely on. They weren't perfect, but they never abandoned me. Not like my birth parents did. When I was 23, I thought I'd finally reached a place in my life where I could breathe easy. I was finishing up my college degree, working part-time at a cafe, and preparing for the future. I had everything planned out, or at least, I thought I did. But then, one evening, my phone buzzed with a text message that would turn my world upside down. I couldn't believe what I was reading. It was from a number I didn't recognize, but the words made my heart drop into my stomach. "Milona, it's your mother. We need to talk." I froze, staring at the screen. My mother. The woman who walked out of my life when I was just a baby. The woman who left me behind without so much as a backward glance. I shook my head. No. It couldn't be. I hadn't heard from her in over 20 years. Why now? I couldn't bring myself to respond, but the next day, I got another message. And then another. Each one more insistent than the last, until I finally gave in. I called the number. My hands trembled as I pressed the phone to my ear. "Hello. Milona, it's your mother," the voice on the other end crackled. She sounded the same, but somehow, distant. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but we need to talk. It's important." I swallowed hard. Important? After all these years, you suddenly want to talk to me. Why? What could possibly be so important? There was a pause, and then her voice softened. "I need to tell you something about your father. My adoptive father. The one who raised me, loved me, and treated me like his own. What could she possibly want with him?" My thoughts raced as I fought to control the surge of anger building inside me. "What about him?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Your father passed away," she said flatly. "And he left something for you. A will. And we need you to sign it." I blinked, stunned. "A will? Why would he leave me anything? I haven't heard from you in years. Why are you coming to me now?" Another pause. "Because we have a claim, Milona. Your father's will is worth $5.5 million. My heart pounded. $5.5 million? That didn't make sense. My father was a simple man. He wasn't rich. Why would he have that kind of money? And why would he leave it to me? Wait, what are you saying?" I demanded, the confusion starting to boil over. "You're telling me you want me to give you this money? After everything you did? After you left me? Just like that?" Her voice hardened. "It's not just about the money, Milona. We deserve what's ours. You owe us." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. Owe them? What were they talking about? I could feel my emotions spiraling out of control. Anger, betrayal, confusion, all of it crashing into me like a tidal wave. "You can't be serious," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "I don't owe you anything. You abandoned me. You left me with strangers, and now you want to come back and take what's mine?" There was a long silence before she spoke again, her tone colder than before. "We're not asking for everything, Milona. Just what's rightfully ours. Your father's money. You don't need it. You've got everything you need. But she stopped herself, as if trying to collect her thoughts. "We didn't ask for this either. We've been out of your life for too long, but we deserve something, don't we?" I felt a lump form in my throat, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. I was angry, but more than that, I felt lost. They hadn't been there for me when I needed them. They hadn't been there for my birthdays, my graduations, my pain. They had disappeared without a trace. And now, they were back, expecting me to just hand over everything I had left of my father. "Milona," she said, her voice softer now, almost pleading, "don't you want to be a part of this? Don't you want to know who you really are? We're family." I shook my head, my thoughts racing. Family? They weren't family. Family didn't abandon you. Family didn't show up out of nowhere when there was something to take. No, I said, my voice trembling with emotion. I don't want anything to do with you. You made your choice years ago, and I've made mine. Before I could hang up, she spoke again, her voice filled with an anger that matched my own. Fine, Milona. But remember this. We will be back. And you will have no choice but to give us what's ours. The line went dead. And just like that, everything changed. I was left in shock, still holding the phone in my hand, the weight of her words sinking in. I had no idea what was coming next, but one thing was clear: I wasn't going to let them take what was mine without a fight. I never thought I'd be standing in a courtroom fighting for something I never wanted. But here I was, dressed in a dark suit that felt too tight around my chest, sitting across from my birth parents, who somehow looked like strangers, even though they were the people who gave me life. My lawyer, Greg, sat beside me, his eyes scanning the room as he whispered last-minute advice. Remember, Milona, stick to the facts. Don't let them manipulate you. I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. I couldn't help but glance at my birth mother. She sat there with her perfectly pressed clothes, her eyes cold and calculating. And my father? He was barely paying attention, flipping through papers as if this was just another business deal. I wanted to scream at them, to demand answers for why they left me. But I couldn't. Not here. Not now. The judge's voice broke through my thoughts. We're here to settle the matter regarding the will of Mr. Edward Thompson, the late adoptive father of Miss Milona, who has been named as the beneficiary. We will begin by hearing statements from both parties. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest as I stood, my palms slick with sweat. It didn't matter how many times Greg told me to stay calm, I could barely control my emotions. Your Honor, my birth mother began, her voice calm, almost rehearsed. We're here today to claim what rightfully belongs to us. Milona's father may have raised her, but that doesn't change the fact that we are her biological parents, and we were denied the opportunity to be in her life. This is our right. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. Denied the opportunity? I wanted to shout. You chose to leave me, but I bit my tongue, trying to keep my emotions in check. Your Honor, Greg interjected, standing up to present his case. We are here because Milona's father made a decision. He chose her to inherit his estate, and that decision should stand. Milona was legally adopted. Her biological parents had their chance, but they gave up that right when they abandoned her. My birth father snorted, and the sound was like a slap in the face. You think you can just erase us, huh? You think this girl doesn't owe us something for all the years we were kept away from her? You think it's just about a piece of paper and a sum of money? His words stung, cutting deeper than I expected. My adoptive father had been nothing but kind to me, loved me in a way they never did. And yet, here they were, trying to tear it all down for money. Enough, the judge called out, raising his hand. We'll hear from Miss Milona now. Please, tell us your side. I stood up slowly, every inch of me trembling with a mix of fear and anger. I don't even know where to begin, I started, my voice breaking. I grew up in a home where I was loved. I had everything I needed. My father, the man who raised me, he was the only father I've ever known. And when I heard that he passed, I felt like the ground was pulled out from under me. But then, to hear from these people, I gestured toward my birth parents. After all this time, asking for what's mine, it's not about the money. It's about the fact that they weren't there for me when I needed them. They were gone. And now they think they can just waltz back into my life and take what isn't theirs. I paused, trying to control the sob that was threatening to break through. I don't know who they think they are, but my father chose me. He loved me, and he gave me everything. I won't let them take that from me. There was a heavy silence in the room as I finished, my breath coming in short, shaky bursts. The judge didn't speak immediately, and I could feel the weight of every eye in the room on me. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm but firm. Thank you, Miss Milona. We'll take a short recess before proceeding with further testimony. As I sat back down, Greg squeezed my hand reassuringly. But I didn't feel reassured. Not yet. My birth parents glared at me, their eyes burning with resentment. I could see it, their desperation. They didn't care about me. They only cared about what they thought was rightfully theirs. They wanted the money, and they didn't care who they had to step on to get it. But I wasn't going to let them. Not this time. I looked at Greg, determination flooding my veins. I'm not giving in. I won't let them win. He nodded, but I could see the worry in his eyes. This battle was far from over. It's funny how the smallest things can bring the biggest truths to light. After the courtroom session, I felt like I was drowning. Each moment spent facing my birth parents was like a weight pressing down on my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was fighting for more than just money. It felt like a battle for my entire past, the truth of who I was, of what they'd done to me. That night, after the court adjourned, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with thoughts of everything they'd said. But there was one thing that kept nagging at me, the way my birth father had sneered at me earlier. He didn't just want the money, he wanted control. That realization gnawed at me like a piece of old clothing that refused to fit. The next day, I found myself standing in front of my adoptive father's old study. The room had been untouched since he passed, full of his things, the same books, the same chair he used to sit in while reading, the same pictures on the walls. I couldn't bring myself to look at them for long. They reminded me too much of what I'd lost. But then I saw it, one of my father's old file cabinets, tucked in the corner. My curiosity took over, and before I knew it, I was pulling open the drawers, scanning through his documents. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I knew something didn't sit right. My father's will was too simple, too clean. Something about it felt off. And then I found it, a folder that was clearly out of place, shoved at the back of the drawer. My fingers trembled as I pulled it out. Inside were letters old, faded, and filled with names I didn't recognize. Names of people my father never mentioned. People connected to my birth parents. People I didn't know. The deeper I dug, the more it became clear. There were secrets here, ones that had been hidden from me for years. One letter in particular caught my eye. It was from my birth father, one of those early letters that had been sealed away. My hands shook as I read it aloud, my voice barely above a whisper. Milona was never meant to be with the Thompsons. The money should have been ours. You must make sure she remembers where she belongs when the time comes. I stopped reading, the words crashing into me like a ton of bricks. They had never intended to let me go. They were only pretending to abandon me, biding their time until they could take back what they felt was rightfully theirs. My blood boiled. They had always been planning this, using me as a pawn in their game. I ran my hands over my face, fighting back tears. I was just a tool to them, a way to get back at my adoptive father for some twisted reason I didn't even understand. The anger bubbled up, making it hard to breathe. How could they do this to me? How could they just use me as a pawn, after everything? Milona. I snapped my head around to see Greg standing in the doorway, his expression full of concern. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft. I shook my head, trying to push the thoughts aside. No, I'm not okay. My voice cracked as I spoke. They've been lying to me. They never wanted me. They just wanted what my father had. They've been planning this all along. Greg stepped into the room, moving closer. Milona, I know this is hard, but you need to stay focused. This is exactly why you need to bring this evidence to the court. It's going to help you win. I looked at him, frustration welling up inside me. It's not about winning, Greg. It's about my life. My entire life has been a lie. Everything I thought I knew it's just a game to them. Greg hesitated, then placed a hand on my shoulder. I know this isn't what you wanted, but you have to fight. For yourself. For the truth. The weight of his words hit me hard. Fight for the truth. I'd been running from it, scared to face it. But now, the truth was all I had. I had to face it, no matter how ugly it was. And just like that, something inside me shifted. The anger, the pain, the fear, they all became fuel for something stronger. I wasn't going to let them win. Not this time. I was going to stand up for myself. I was going to fight for the family who truly loved me, the one that had been there for me all along. Thank you, Greg, I said, my voice steady now. I will fight. And I will win. As I stood there, looking at the letters in front of me, I knew the battle wasn't over. It had only just begun. And I wasn't backing down. The day of the final hearing arrived faster than I expected. I could barely sleep the night before. My mind kept replaying the scene in the courtroom, the cold, smug expressions of my birth parents, and their relentless pursuit of what they thought they were owed. Every inch of me screamed in defiance, but I knew it was time to confront them, time to expose the truth. I walked into the courtroom, feeling the eyes of everyone on me. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This was about showing them that I wasn't the naive, lost little girl they'd abandoned. I had fought, I had grown, and now I was stronger than they'd ever realized. The judge called us to order. I glanced at my birth parents. They were sitting at the table, their faces set in hard, emotionless masks. My birth mother stared straight ahead, avoiding my gaze. But my birth father, he watched me, his eyes cold, calculating. He didn't expect me to fight back. He didn't think I had the guts. The tension in the room was thick. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me, but I refused to look away. I wasn't going to let them break me. Miss Malona, the judge called, his voice sharp. You've presented your case. We now turn to your birth parents for their final statement. I looked at Greg, who gave me an encouraging nod. This was it. My heart was racing, but I didn't feel fear anymore. I felt empowered. I stood up, facing the judge, my voice steady. Your Honor, I've been fighting for my whole life, but I never realized it until now. All this time, I've been carrying the weight of my past, of the lies they've fed me. I've been trying to make sense of their actions, but the truth is, there is no sense in it. They never cared about me. They only cared about money. I paused, my eyes locked on my birth father, who was now glaring at me. I could feel the anger burning in his eyes, but it only made me stronger. They've manipulated me, tried to control me for years. And they don't get to do that anymore. I will not let them take what's mine, and I will not let them tear apart the family that has loved me. There was a moment of silence, and I could feel the room holding its breath. Then, I turned to face my birth parents, my voice unwavering. You abandoned me when I needed you most. And now you come here, pretending like nothing happened. You think you can take away everything my father gave me, but you can't. This isn't just about money. This is about my identity. This is about me, and the life I've built without you. The judge looked at both parties, then at the pile of evidence we had presented. Thank you, Miss Malona. We will now deliberate. As I sat down, my heart was racing. I didn't know what the judge would decide, but I had said everything I needed to. The truth was out there now. There was no going back. The deliberation seemed to take forever, but finally, the judge spoke. After reviewing the evidence and hearing from both parties, I have come to a decision. The will of Mr. Edward Thompson stands. The estate will go to Miss Malona, as outlined by her adoptive father. The claims of the birth parents are hereby dismissed. I couldn't breathe. I was in shock. For a moment, I couldn't process what I had just heard. The weight I'd been carrying, the fear, the anxiety, it all lifted in an instant. I glanced at my birth parents. Their faces were a mix of disbelief and fury. My birth father's jaw was clenched so tightly I thought it might crack. My birth mother, though, was silent. I could see the defeat in her eyes, and in that moment, I realized something: she had never been my family. Not really. The truth had set me free. But the real victory was knowing that I no longer needed their approval. I was my own person, and I had the power to choose who I let into my life. I turned to Greg, my hands trembling, but not from fear. I won. Greg smiled, his eyes full of pride. You did. You stood up for yourself, Malona. You fought for what you deserve. I nodded, the weight of it all slowly sinking in. I had fought for the life I wanted, and I had won. The battle wasn't just about the money. It was about me taking back control of my life. As we left the courthouse, I felt lighter than I had in years. I had been through hell, but I had come out stronger. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. I knew I wasn't going to forget my past, it would always be a part of me. But now, it didn't define me. I was Malona, And no one, not even my birth parents, could take that away.